Welcome, folks. Welcome to this course where we are going to learn the backend and especially Node.js. Okay, we are going to specialize in Node.js, creating the backend with the help of Node.js. And before starting the session, we have a panelist here, Shubham. So if you have any questions, please you can put your queries and questions in the chat, and he will be answering your doubts. Okay, so. Before starting this course, so what are your expectations with this course? What do you think are the prerequisites of this course? So can you type in the chat? Okay, so my question was, before starting today's course, so we are going to learn backend in this course, right? So what do you think are the prerequisite of this course so that you can get started with this course? What do you think? Okay, so most of you are correct. Okay, so the only prerequisite course is JavaScript. Okay, so if you know JavaScript, you will be able to, learn this course and create a full-fledged backend at the end of this course. So how many of you are well versed with the JS? Can you type 1 in the chat? Okay, cool. So I'm getting a lot of responses saying 1. Okay, not an issue. So what I'm going to do in the next slide is I'm going to give you prerequisites, what you should know before starting this course. And if you some other topics, if you don't know, I'll also share the resource in the notes. So please go through those because that's about JS and you are expected to know JS before starting this course. Okay, so again, some of the prerequisite is apart from JS is that you have to be very curious. So curiosity is the thing, how things work, and literally you should know have that curiosity. Like if this thing is working, how is this working, right? So curiosity is a prerequisite. So if you have that curious mind, that is a good thing, right? And second thing is you should be very well versed, as I said, with the JavaScript, how event loop works and ES6, ECMAScript 6, right? So I think you all are already aware, you have learned event loop and JavaScript, right? Yes, folks, 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay, so another, my voice is breaking. Is my voice breaking? Okay, some of you are saying no, some of you are saying yes. So please check your internet connection because some of, if my internet was lagging, it would have been, just give me a sec. Let me check my internet connection. Is it fine now? Yes, okay. So again, coming to the prerequisite of this course. So you should be well versed with what closures are, right? And what promises are, what async await is, what is fetch axios, right? And you should, you know, uh, have a very little detail about, very little idea about get, post, put, patch, delete request. If you don't know about it, it's fine, but you should be very well versed with the JavaScript concepts, which are event loop, closures, promises, async await, right? So if any one of you are not, feeling comfortable with the some of the topics mentioned here, I'm going to share the resources at the end of this course in the notes section. Please go through that. And before coming to the next session, please make sure that you are, very well versed with these concepts. Okay. Okay. Okay, so again, one thumb rule here is that if I am asking you a question, the outcome can be 2 options, yes or no, right? So if you are going to say yes, please type 1 in the chat. And if you are saying no, please type 0 in the chat, right? Same goes for the class as well. If I am saying, did you understood the topic or whatever I'm teaching you, you can say 1 or 0 in the chat. 1 means yes, you have understood, and 0 means you have not understood. And I'm going to repeat that. Is that understandable, folks? Yes. Okay. Cool. So, so many of you are saying one. Yes. Don't say yes because it's a bigger word. You can type one. That means yes. Okay. In itself. Cool. So, again, a prerequisite is that you have used an API. How many of you have used a JSON server? Okay, cool. So majority of you are saying we have used, but some of you are saying we have not used, not an issue. But if you have used, that will help you a lot. Okay. And again, one more thing, which is, I would say the most important thing is attention to detail. That is, you have to be very conscious in the class. You have to attend the class in a very proactive manner and in a very conscious manner. Okay. And if you are attending the class and you are having attention to detail, I'll promise you, you don't have to rewatch the session again. Okay. So are we aligned on that fact? If you are going to attend the session, be very conscious and proactive. Okay. And have that curious mind, and also at the same time you should have very keen eyesight of attention to detail. Okay, this is very important. Okay, so some tips and tricks for this course is that uh, today's class didn't have a pre-class. Okay, but most of the classes are going to have a pre-class. Okay, so watch the pre-class before coming to the live session. That's why it's called pre-class, right? The class which is before the live session. Okay, so before coming to the live session, please go through the pre-class. It will only be for 10-15 minutes max. Okay, but please try to watch the pre-class before coming to the live class. Okay, and after the session we are going to share the notes with you. So go through those notes and read those notes proactively. Okay, and one thing is very well appreciated is that if not everything is going to be covered in live sessions, right? Important things are going to be covered so that you have a foundation. So you have to try out various things on your own. Okay, so that is very much appreciated from your part. So if you're trying out things on your own, okay, and you have to make a habit of reading documentation. So in classes I'm going to use documentation, so we are going to read the documentation. So but after the sessions, while you are solving the assignments or you are creating things on your own, make a habit of reading documentation rather than going to the YouTube and watching a tutorial. Okay, is that understandable, folks? Okay, so what I said in the prerequisite is be curious, right? So you have to be very curious about more things. As I said, that everything is not going to be taught in the live session, right? So there are things which you have to discover on your own. I can guide you, I can give you hints what you can read, but you have to read the documentation and be very curious and explore documentation on your own. Okay, that will help you to become a developer. Okay, so someone said, why not YouTube? Because it's a bit common sense. If you're going to watch a video on closures for half an hour, but reading the documentation on closure will only take you 5 minutes, right? And always the documentation is the source of truth. Okay, so even after finishing this course of your cap, if you're going to a company and working there, you are not going to watch the tutorials, right? If something new comes, new tech stack comes, there won't be any tutorial. You just there will be only documentation. Right or wrong, how many of you are aware about this? New tech comes with documentation, not tutorial, right? So you have to make a habit of reading the documentation. Okay, and again, I have mentioned here, sometimes docs are hard to understand. That's fine, I'll show you a trick. Okay, through which right now we have AI. Everyone uses chat GPT. If you're not able to understand a docs, copy paste those docs and paste it in your chat GPT, and you can tell it, right, to make you understand in a simpler way, right? So don't fall into the trap of tutorial hell. Again, I'm saying don't go to YouTube and start watching tutorials. Better is to read the documentation. If you are struggling while reading the documentation, that's fine, because after some time you won't, right? After 1 week or 2 weeks of reading the documentation, you will feel comfortable with reading the documentation. Okay, so you have to give your complete focus in the live class. As I said, be conscious and proactive. and join the live class using your laptop only. Don't try to use your mobile phone, because you will lay down on your bed, then you won't be able to understand anything and you won't be conscious in this class. Okay. So one more thing is, I told you be proactive, right? So what do I mean by being proactive is, if you are not able to understand any concept, you can type in the chat, right? Zero or whatever your question is. So what I meant to say is, ask for help. Don't be shy. Everyone here is a student and everyone here is to learn new things, right? So you have to ask for help. That's how we will know that you didn't understand. Okay. So ask for help, clarification, and as soon as possible, right? Be very proactive with this. Okay. And one more tip is, some of you are saying my voice is breaking, but others are saying no. So is it? Santosh, please check your internet connection. Okay. So, ठीक है. Okay. So one more tip is that complete the assignments of the day before coming to the next class. Okay. So why I'm saying this is, thank you folks, I got it. So why I'm saying this is, so if you don't do your assignments before coming to the next class, the assignments will pile up, right? And the human tendency is that, what I have seen as a student as well, that we say that we'll finish our assignments, you know, in the weekend, right? Right, folks? We say that we'll complete our assignments at the weekend, but that never happens. How many of you agree with me? How many times have you manifested that we'll complete our assignments at the end of the week, but you won't do that, right? So what you have to do is, what worked for me, that will work for you as well. So after finishing the class, as soon as you are finish the class, go through the assignment once, right? Because after the class you have that, all the things are fresh in your mind, right? So go through the problem statement once and try to understand the problem statement. Okay. And try to solve the assignment before coming to the next session, so that the assignments don't pile up. Okay. One more thing which I'm going to say is, this is your day one, right? So if you're doing the things right way from the start, you won't face any issues, right? So that's why these tips and tricks are there. So complete your assignment before coming to the next day. Okay. So if I have to choose two pointers which are very, very, very impactful, one is consciously and proactively attending the live session. And second thing is completing the assignment before coming to the next session. These two things, if you make sure, I'm guaranteeing you that you will be able to make a full-fledged backend at the end of this course. Okay. Are we aligned on this? Okay, cool. So some don'ts as well. Okay. So as I told you, while attending the class, don't, it's not recommended to, you be being on your bed and attending the class through your mobile phone. No, that way you won't learn anything. Trust me, you are just wasting your time. Okay. And another thing is, spamming the chat box with the same doubt or statement. So if I'm not giving answer, or if our panelist here is not giving answer to a question, that means that question is going to be discussed in the upcoming sessions. Okay. So don't spam the chat box with the same doubt. Okay. And another one is, if we are learning A and B is being discussed in the class, don't ask doubt on C. Okay. Because I'm going to tell you, you will have questions and you will be curious, but that is a good thing. And we are going to cover most of the things in the upcoming sessions. Okay. I'm telling you this in advance. So don't spam the chat box and don't ask doubts about C while A and B is discussed. Okay. And this point relates to the thing where I told you that you have to figure out things on your own. So if you have doubt related to C, first try to figure out it on your own. That's how you will be, learning. Your learning curve will be very high. Okay. And again, one more issue is that, please take care of the Zoom hygiene. Keep your mic muted, video off. Okay. And don't rename your name. That is, that's called Zoom hygiene. Okay. So please make sure these things, from my side, I have disabled it, but sometimes I might forget. Okay. So keep your mic muted, video also closed. Okay. So one more thing is not being proactive. Okay. So while answering the questions, you have to be proactive. If I'm asking a question, did you understood? Or I'm asking a question, please proactively answer those questions, as it will help me to understand how much did you got from the session. Okay, is that understandable, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay, cool. So the topics which we are going to learn in this course are the following topics which you can see on the screen. Okay, so we'll start with Node.js. Okay, it will go for a couple of days. Okay, for Node.js only, and then we are going to use Express. Okay, and we are going to use MongoDB as a database and Mongoose for, it's okay. If you can't understand these things, it's fine, but you can remember these topic names for now. We're going to learn Node.js, Express, MongoDB, and Mongoose. These 4 topics we are going to learn in this course. Okay, cool. Okay, so before starting the introduction to the Node.js, I'm going to discuss some of the things. So for more bandwidth, as some of you are saying, my voice is lagging, I'm going to turn off my camera. Okay, and I'm going to use Excalibur. Okay, so first things first, what we are going to learn is something called client server model. It's called client server model. Okay, so what is this client server model? Okay, so understand this with a, we will understand this with the help of an example. So imagine you are going to a restaurant. Okay, let us call this as a restaurant, and you are here. So when you go to a restaurant, what do you do? First of all, what do you do? You call the waiter, or you look at the menu, whatever it is, but you call the waiter and give your order, right? This is the thing, right? And what happens? The waiter takes your order where? Where does your waiter take the order? Can you tell me? As most of you are correct, let us say this guy is the waiter here. Okay. Where does the waiter take your order to? Kitchen, right? And in the kitchen, chef is present there, right? 1 or 0 in the chat? Yes. Okay. So let us say you gave an order of, of a pizza, right? So what the chef will do? Chef will go to the storeroom and get all the uh, spices and whatever things are required, things required to make pizza, right? Right, from the storeroom, right? And it will get all those ingredients, right? And chef will start preparing your pizza, right? Then the same waiter will come and deliver your pizza to your table, right? Deliver pizza to your table, right? So take 2 minutes, think about it, and tell me, can you see a pattern here being followed? If you're saying yes, what kind of pattern is being followed? Can you tell me? Someone in the chat said a good thing, right? The answer is very, very accurate and relevant. Okay. Someone said that I can see a pattern of sending and receiving. What are we sending here? Can you tell me? We are sending order here, right? And what are we receiving? We are receiving our order, right? Same thing. Can I say in this case, I am requesting an order? I am requesting an order, and here I am receiving an order. Similar, right? Requesting an order and receiving an order, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay. So now take a very careful look here. Okay. So if this Google search is here, I'm going to type Batman, right? And I got the data related to Batman, 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes. So can you see here? I requested for Batman data and I received the Batman data, right? Same pattern as happens in the restaurant, right? I requested for Batman data and I received the Batman data, right or wrong? Yes. How many of you disagree with me? Okay. I'm saying how many of you disagree with me? Okay, cool. So same case happens. Same case. Okay. Keep this picture in your mind. Same case happens when we are going to do the web development. Okay. So our front end, also known as what? Can you tell me what is front end also called as? Client, right? Client side. Request data, right, to backend. Request data from the backend, right? Which is also your, let us say, kitchen, right? From that example, right? And this backend tries to see what kind of data are you requesting. So in my example, I was requesting for Batman data, right? 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes. So this backend will go where? It will go to the database, right? And get Batman data from the database, right or wrong? Relevant data, right? And send it back as a response as Batman data, right? Right or wrong, 1 or 0 in the chat. How many of you think that this example is making sense with the previous one? Yes. This is something called request response cycle. How many of you have understood this request response cycle, also known as client server model? Okay, let us understand again what am I, actually what is happening from the behind the scenes. Okay, so if I'm going here, this browser is what? Is this backend, front end? What is it? This is our client side, right? Front end, right or wrong? So front end is requesting, when I hit enter, when I'm going to hit enter, it's going to request the server for Batman data, right or wrong? Yes. And when I hit enter, the server takes the data from the database and gives it back to the client side, right or wrong? That is what is happening here in this request response cycle. Yes. Is this clear, folks? Yes. Okay. Now the question is, we have understood the pattern here, right? But you're already aware about front end, right? Or let us say client side, how to make it, right? But you have a question, you should have a question. What is this server? Big question, right or wrong? What is it made of? Why do we need a server in the first place, right or wrong? Yes. Okay. So we can break down this server into two words. Okay. One is serve and one is R. Can you remember this? Can you remember this, folks? Server, serve, and R. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So what does serve mean? Can you tell me what does serve mean? Okay. Wait, folks. Stop answering in the chat. One sec. Okay. Only those who didn't understand the request response cycle, please type 0 in the chat. Okay. So any volunteer who wants to raise the hand so that we can understand the client server model in a better way, you can raise your hand. Anyone? Okay, so only a few folks have said 0. So let me quickly recap this so that I don't waste everyone's time. Okay, so as we understood from the previous example, that if you go to a restaurant, you will uh, give your order to the waiter, and waiter will give your order to the kitchen where a chef is present, right? So the chef will go to the storeroom, get the required ingredients to make your order, and once the order is prepared, the chef will deliver the order to your the waiter will deliver your order to the table, right? Same thing happens in the client server model. Okay, so what happens here is a front end, which is your client side, which you have made with the help of React or JavaScript, right, tries to request the data to the backend. So in this example, which I showed you here, right, so I am trying to, this client side, this browser is trying to request some data. Let us say it is about Superman, right? So if I hit enter, now this front end will request backend, the server, to send me the data related to the Superman when I click. Okay. And the server is the kitchen here. Okay. The server will get the data from the database and give it back to the client. It is just a theoretical concept. We have not implemented it. Okay. So if you have understood the theoretical aspect of it, that is, we are good to go. Okay. Is that understandable, folks? Yes. 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay, so now coming back to the server. Okay, what is this server? Okay, so one query was there. How can I explain this? That is fine. See, at the end of the session, you will be able to, make sense out of it. So these are all puzzle pieces which will come together and make definition for you. So wait for it and trust me, if you're understanding what I'm saying, that is fine for now. Okay, ठीक Yes, backend is called server. Okay. No, see, Shweta, you are again asking a question which is irrelevant, right? I didn't talk about storing the data, right? That will come. So when I'm talking about A and B, please don't talk about C. Okay. Ritik, again, please wait for. Let's be conscious and proactive in the session. You are curious, that's a good thing, but please don't ask questions related to C. Okay. Again, yes, server is the backend. Okay. Again, so what I am saying here is server is made up of two words. for now. Okay, one is serve and one is R. What do you mean by serve? Can you tell me what is the meaning of serve? किसी को देना, right? To give someone, right? Provider, right? So can I say server is something, but the definition of server means which serves something. अब ये something क्या है, we don't know, but can I say this, that server is something which is serving us something, which is providing us something, which is giving us something, right? So what is this R? R stands for resources. So now collectively, what can be the definition of a server? What is a server? A server is something which serves us resources, right? So similarly, in our case, server will serve resources in the bracket. I am saying data to client side, right or wrong? Or let us call it front end. Okay, is this making sense to you? It is just a simple thing. सर्वर एक ऐसी चीज है जो रिसोर्स को सर्व करेगा, डेटा को सर्व करेगा टू द फ्रंट एंड. दैट्स ऑल. ओके. Okay, now what is the server made up of? What is the use of server? What are the use cases of server? Okay, so servers are designed for numerous things. One is handling request. Who will send request to the server? Can you tell me? Again, from the client server model, can you tell me? Client, right? User. It is designed, server is designed, okay? I'm using the word designed to handle request from the client, okay? One is this thing. Second one is process information. Now, this client side can request for anything, right or wrong? In my example here, I asked for Batman, then I asked for Superman, right? So client side can ask for anything, request for anything, right? Client side कुछ भी मांग सकता है. 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes. So backend is designed to process the information कि client side को चाहिए क्या. Is this making sense? We have not implemented it. It's just the theoretical aspect. Okay. Again, I am saying this. Okay. Yes. Okay. And the third and final thing is deliver response. अभी मैंने ब्राउजर से सर्वर को सुपरमैन का डेटा मांगा, तो सुपरमैन ने मेरे को डिलीवर किया सुपरमैन का डेटा. सर्वर ने डिलीवर किया सुपरमैन का डेटा. Yes or no? This is a live example in front of you. Yes. So again, third thing is delivering response. That's all. And where am I coming from this? Where did I get these pointers from? Can you tell me? Are they aligning with request response cycle? Right? Client side will request, so server should be designed to handle the request, right? Client side can ask for anything, so server should be designed to process what client side is asking for us, right? And server should also be able to deliver the response back, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes. Okay. Now again, as I said to you in the previous example, I said that kitchen is our server, right? From the example, we understood that. Yes or no? Yes. But who is in the kitchen? Who runs the kitchen? Can you tell me? Chef, right? Chef runs the kitchen. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So similarly, the client side to run the client side, we use language, right? Programming language. What are those languages which you have learned from the client side? JavaScript, right? Then you learned a library. What was that library? React, React.js, right? It's a library, right? So similarly, this server, to make a server run, we will need a programming language, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes, to create a server, to run a server, we need a programming language, right? That programming language is called SSPL, okay, which is also called as server side programming language. Okay, that's where we land on Node.js. Can you give me other examples of server-side programming language? Java, very good. What else? Python, very good. PHP, nice. Okay, so these are all the programming language which can be used to create a, can you tell me? Fill in the blanks. Can be used to create a server, right? And which one are we going to learn? We are going to learn Node.js. How many of you understood this? Okay. Now I'll give you whatever we have learned. We'll take an example, a live example. Okay. We'll see what a Node.js is. Don't worry about it. Okay. But for now, we know it's a programming language. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying, please focus on that. You are curious. That's a good thing. But I'm going to answer these questions in a systematic way. Okay. So don't worry. Don't hurry. Don't rush. Be a little peaceful and, enjoy the session. Go with the flow of the session. Okay. Yes, Nageshwar, I told 5 times backend server is same thing. Backend server, whatever you want to call it, right? As we call front end client side as well. Okay. So what did we learn? Can you tell me? We learned request response cycle, right or wrong? Yes. We saw what a server is, right? Just I'm saying theoretically, right? Okay. And we saw what a SSPL is, server side programming language, right or wrong? Okay, let us take an example of now how these things make sense to you. Okay, so how many of you have seen a login page having two input boxes, email and password? Yes, I'll call this E. E stands for email, P stands for password. Okay, and this here is login button. Okay, so once I have typed my email and password, okay, when I click on login button, what is going to happen? On click of login button, what is going to happen? Okay, so let us understand in a very layman terminology. Okay, the concept itself. On a click, okay, please be focused here. Okay, on a click, front end, okay, you know that. Okay, front end will request back end with what? With your email and password, right? Yes, data. Yes, correct. 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes, and in your backend, right? Let us call this server or backend, whatever you want to call it. Okay, again, I'm writing this. Don't ask this question again. Okay, in your server or backend, you are going to check some things, right? If email is valid, right? If password length is 8 characters. Let us say, okay, I'm just giving an example. Okay. And if these are checked in the backend, the server will store the data in the database. Okay, we won't know how it will do. We'll see it in the future. Okay, then server will respond back saying user created or sorry, login successful, right? One or zero in the chat. Can you now understand how the request response cycle works, folks? Yes. Okay, cool. Again, I'm reiterating on this fact. Again, when you click on a login page on any Amazon or somewhere, right? When you give your email and password or username and password, when you click on that login button, right, itself, it requests the backend. It sends the request to the backend. We don't know how it sends. We'll see that in the future. But for now, as a theoretical concept, again, I'm reiterating on this part, right? It will request the backend with email and password, and server will process this information, right? What do I mean by processing information? It will check if email is valid, if password is valid, right? And then it will save the email and password, and it will respond back to the front end saying login successful, right or wrong? You have been logged in. Yes. This is how the request and response cycle goes in and out. One or zero in the chat. Have you understood this, folks? Yes. Okay. Coming back to the slides. Okay. Now we'll understand. Okay, so we came to a conclusion that this is the request response cycle, right? What a server is, and to make a server to process the information, we will need a programming language, right? And we are going to learn Node.js, right? Understandable? Yes, one or zero in the chat. Okay, cool. So in the same way, let us start the introduction to Node.js now. Okay, so first things first, where does JavaScript, where does it run? Can you tell me? I have a question. Okay, I have a question for you. So if you are not well versed with this, right, you don't know the answer for this, there is something wrong. You need to brush up your skills. Okay, so I'll give you two options. Does JavaScript run in browser or your local PC? The answer is JavaScript runs in the browser, right? This is the correct answer. The browser is able to interpret or understand JavaScript, right? The browser is able to understand the JavaScript, right or wrong? Let me give you an example. Okay, again we are coming to an example. So if you come here, one sec, what happened to this? Okay, again, so if I come here, if I open my terminal like this, folks, can you see my terminal? Is this visible to you? Yes. So if I'm saying console.log hi, right? Is it printing hi? Is browser able to understand your JavaScript? Yes. Okay. If I say let a equivalent to 1, okay, let b equivalent to 2, or let us say, let's keep it simple. Can I say like this, console.log 2 plus 3, 5? Is it giving me the answer? Yes. So where is JavaScript run actually? Can you tell me the answer now? It runs in your browser, right? Whenever you write a script, have you written a script in vanilla JS when you are using JavaScript? Have you written a script tag? where does that script tag run? It runs in your browser, right? Have you understood it now? Okay, cool. So similarly, we know that JavaScript runs in the browser itself, right? So what helps JavaScript to run actually? Can you tell me? You don't have answer to these questions. You are not that curious, folks. If you have been working with JavaScript from a long time, why don't you have answer? Not everyone, some of you are giving correct answer as well. Okay, so what helps JavaScript to run in the browser is called something called browser engines. Okay, so Chrome browsers has, you have seen Chrome browsers, right? Chrome browser. How many of you use Chrome browser or Brave browser? Right? They use a engine called V8. Okay, we don't have to go how this V8 was created. What is this V8? Okay, you can go in depth of this if you want to, but this much is fine. Okay, so JavaScript engine called V8 helps the browser of Chromium browsers to run JavaScript. Is that understandable, folks? Yes. Similarly, in case of, this is called Spider Monkey. It's an engine name. Okay, and it helps JavaScript to run in Mozilla Firefox. How many of you use Mozilla or have used Mozilla Firefox? Okay. Similarly, this engine here is called Chakra, and it is used in Edge, Microsoft Edge browser. Is that understandable? What helps JavaScript to run in the browsers? Yes. Okay. Remember this now. Okay. Please, folks, remember this. Okay. Remember this part. Okay. So how can we make JavaScript run on local machine now? Can you tell me? अब हम JavaScript को कैसे local machine पे चलाए? It's just common sense. Don't say Node.js कुछ भी नहीं. मुझे Node.js word सुना ही नहीं है. मुझे बस इतना बोलो. How can we run JavaScript now on local machine? The answer is in front of you. Okay, so let us understand this. So tell me, folks, what does browser have so that JavaScripts run in them? What does browser have? What did we discuss? They have browser engines, right? So isn't it common sense? If I install this engine on my local PC, JavaScript will run in my local PC. If I install this engine on my PC, JS will run in my PC. Yes, 1 or 0 in the chat. It's as simple as that, right? Yes, folks. Okay, that's where Node.js comes into play. Okay, let us understand this in a better way. Okay, let us first understand how we can make the JavaScript run. Then we will see who created, Node.js and all. Okay, so we understood this fact. Now I need to install a browser engine in my local PC. Yes, stay with me. Install local PC, right? Yes, folks. Yes. So we will choose here engine called V8. V8 engine plus some other things. Okay, we'll discuss what these things are. Okay, so it will help to run JavaScript in our local PC, right? Yes. Okay, we'll see what these some other things are. But for now, V8 engine, if we install it, right? This is what is Node.js. Node.js is made up of V8 engine plus some other things. Is this understandable now? What is Node.js? Okay. So now Node.js is not a library or a framework. It's called programming environment, runtime environment. Okay. Runtime environment. You will see that. Okay. If you even if you go to Google, let's go Google and search for Node.js. Okay. Let me close the terminal. Let me search here for Node.js. Okay. So what is it saying? Node.js is a cross-platform open source JavaScript runtime environment. Can you see this? This part. Yes. Let us understand what is this runtime environment, right? So let us take an example of something. Okay. Let us say you want to go for swimming. And where will you go for swimming? Can you tell me? You let us say you go to pool. Okay. And let us say this is some kind of holiday and pool is closed. Where can you swim? Where else can you swim? River. Okay. What else? It's not recommended. I'm just saying. Okay. Lake, pond, even sea, right? So are all of these things providing you an environment for swimming? Right? Yes. Similarly, Node.js is providing an environment. Environment for what? You will now answer me. To run JS in local PC. Right or wrong? How many of you understood this? Why is Node.js called a runtime environment? Yes, is that understandable, folks? Quickly, 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay, coming back to our slides. Okay, so here comes Node.js for you. Okay, so you can go through this details. So it was developed by Randall in 2008. The biggest advantage of Node.js, again, common sense. You don't have to learn any other language for your backend. You can just do it with the knowledge of JavaScript, right? So you don't have to learn PHP, Python, or anything. If you know JavaScript, you can both make client side and the server side. Right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat. Is this understandable? Okay. One sec. Yeah. Again. I'll come to this part. Taking. Okay. Let me just check. Internet should be fine. Voice lag. Let me check. Is my voice breaking still, folks? Is it fine now? Yes, I don't know. Sometimes happens something to my router. It's fine. Okay, cool. So you understood, right? Just give me a 1 sec. Okay. Okay. So did you understood this, folks? About whatever we was my voice clear till this point, till Excalibur runtime environment? Yes, right. Okay. Again, I'm going to repeat this part. So we saw that V8 engine helps JavaScript to run in the browser. So if we install this V8 engine somehow in our local in our no current. So I give you an example. If you want to go for swimming, voice is breaking. Okay, so let's take a 5 minute break. Okay, let us take 5 minute break. Till then, I'll fix it. Okay, ठीक है. All right. Cool. I'll see you after 5 minutes. Is my voice fine now, folks? Are you back? Okay, cool. So what I was saying here is, so if you want to run JavaScript in your local PC, right, we need the V8 engine. Okay, so for that V8 engine, what we are going to do is we are going to install that V8 engine in our local PC, right, with some other things. I want one thing to remember this thing. What are these other things? Please remember this for now. We'll see what these other things are, right? So these two combined make Node.js. What is Node.js now? Node.js is a runtime environment, right? Chrome is not V8 engine. Chrome is a browser, but Chrome has V8 engine through which Chrome is able to understand JavaScript. Is that understandable, Mihir? Yes. Okay. So this runtime environment, what do I mean by runtime environment is I gave you an example of swimming, right? So for swimming, you will use pool, right? Swimming pool. But if swimming pool is closed, right, you will go to river, lake, pond, sea, right? So this kind of river, lake, it's providing you an environment for swimming, right? So similarly, Node.js is providing an environment for running JavaScript in our local PC. Okay. Understood, folks? Cool. Okay. So let us move on to some specifics of, I'll tell you, okay, if you need to install it or not. That's what I'm saying. Don't talk about C when we are discussing A and B, right? So what is this Node.js? Who created it? It was developed by Randall in 2008. What is the biggest advantage of Java Node.js is that, you used to create the front end or client side, you use JavaScript, right? सबने JavaScript use किया, right? React use किया, which is a library of JavaScript, right? So similarly, you will be able to create backend with the help of JavaScript. You don't need to learn any new language. For example, हमने देखा था Python, PHP, है ना? So we don't need to learn those languages. We have learned JavaScript and we'll use that to create server. Okay. So now we don't have to be confused. So this is a note here. Okay. We don't have to be confused. Node is a runtime environment, not a programming language, right? Are you able to understand that fact, folks? Yes. JavaScript is the programming language, right? But Node.js is an environment which provides environment for the JavaScript to run in our local PC. Is that understandable? Yes. Okay, cool. Okay. So example again, if you want to create an environment for gaming, you will use PS, right? It will create that environment for you to, gaming environment for you, right? Yes. So similarly, Node.js is providing environment for uh, JavaScript, right? So again, I told you Node.js is made up of two things. One is JavaScript ka engine, which is V8, right or wrong? We saw this. But what is this bundle here? Can you see this files piled up? This part. Yes. Okay. So remember this part. Okay. And question me what these files are after 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. We'll see that what that part is. Okay. So we'll understand one part, which is called something called REPL. Okay. So how many of you have used Replit or something like that? Or have you ever heard the term REPL? REPL. Have you heard the term REPL? REPL stands for read, evaluate, print, and then loop. Okay, we'll see what this is. Okay, so if I go to again to browser to this part, first see this. Okay, I'm going to say console.log 2 plus 3, right? When I hit enter, what is going to happen? Can you tell me? What is it going to print? Okay, so let us understand this fact. Okay, so before hitting enter, it's going to print 5, right? Yes, when I hit enter, right? 1 or 0 in the chat. But before that, two things happen. What is that? It will first read this part, console.log 2 plus 3. Yes, then it will evaluate mathematically 2 plus 3 is 5, right? Then only it will print 5, 1 or 0 in the chat. Then it will go into the loop again. Read, evaluate, print loop. See this, okay? So if I do this, if I hit enter here, it evaluated it, printed 5, right? Again loop. I can say now console.log. It doesn't end, it's in loop, right? Console.log hi. Very simple concept here. Okay. Before hitting the enter, it's going to read the console.log hi. It's going to evaluate that I have to print hi, right? And it's going to, yes, typing error. Nice. Okay. So it's console.log, right? Let us say hi. What it's going to do is first read it, evaluate it, print it, again loop. Is it ending? Folks, can you see? Is it ending? I can again type the same thing, right? 1 or 0 in the chat. It's a never ending loop. Are you able to understand this fact? Yes. It's a very simple concept, folks. You don't have to push yourself here. See. Okay. Again, I'm going to give you an example. So if I'm saying console.log 10, 10 minus 15, it's going to read this sentence first of all. अगर आप ह्यूमन दिमाग से भी सोचोगे, पहले आपने इसको देखा, राइट? योर ब्रेन saw this with the help of your eyes, right? It read it. 1 or 0 in the chat? Yes. Then your brain evaluated it that 10 minus 15 is minus 5, right? Then only it will print minus 5, right? And again loop. Yes. Is this making sense to you, Rappel? Read, evaluate, print, and loop. Okay. ठीक है. Cool. So let us come here now again. And we shall start. First of all, I'm going to discuss one more thing. So there are two ways to interact with computer, right? How many of you know these two ways? Some of you know, that's okay, not an issue. You have to remember, one is called graphical user interface, the other one is called CLI, command line interface. Okay, these two things, I'll give you a practical example of this as well, but understand this. There are two ways to interact with the computer. One is GUI and one is called CLI. GUI is graphical user interface. Another one is command line interface. Okay, again, I'm going to give you an example now. Let us come to this desktop. If I right click and create a folder and call it, let us say test here, right? Or whatever name it gave it. Okay, let me call this test for namesake. Okay. So I created the folder with the help of graphical user interface, using the graphics, using the display, right? 1 or 0 in the chat? Yes. Okay. Using the graphics, folks, it's very simple. You have been using this from a long time now, right? Creating folder or going into a directory, right? A folder, for example, I'm going into documents, desktop, right? 1 or 0 in the chat? Yes. Okay. This is a theme. Okay, this system failure is a theme, it's nothing else. Okay, so I'll show you again. I can create the same folder with the help of command line. Okay, please be focused here a little bit. Okay, let me just do this so that you can see it in the real time. Okay, so I'll clear the screen first of all. Okay, so now how to open CLI? Very simple. Okay, search for CMD on your system. Okay, or you can because you if you are using Windows, you will have something called command prompt, right? Command prompt. I am using Mac. I have terminal here. Windows also have a terminal, right? So if you click on open the terminal, that's all, right? And here I will recommend each and every one of you to install bash terminal. Okay, is this understandable? Bash terminal, this is recommended, folks. Okay, please, after this class, please install it and explore. Okay, ठीक है. So it will give you a little bit feeling of Linux. Okay, not little bit. It will feel like Linux. Okay. Okay. So I can create the same folder. See, I will go into the desktop. I'll say cd. Cd means change directory. Okay. I'm just zooming it out. Cd means change directory. Right. I'll go into the desktop. Right. I hit enter. I am now into the desktop. See, graphically, can you see all the entities on the desktop here? Can you see this graphically, folks, here? Cap 10, all these files? Yes. But using command line as well, CLI, I can see the files. I can say ls means list the files, right? Listing. If I hit enter, can you see the same thing? See here, cap backend. Here is the folder cap backend, right? Here. Yes. Here. 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes. Similarly, cap current, right? Here. Can you see the same folder here? Cap current. Yes. So this is called command line interface, right? And this is called graphical user interface. Okay. And I'll recommend you to start using command line interface, because as a developer, you should be using command line only, right? So I can create the same folder using mkdir, which means make directory. What do we call as a programmer? We don't call folder. Okay. This is a folder, right? Let me use some different color so that it is visible. Okay, this is called folder, right? This is called folder, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes, but as a programmer, you should call it directory. Okay, directory. Okay, understandable? Yes. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a command called mkdir, which means make directory, create a directory. Okay, and I'm going to say test2. Now have a look at my here. Okay, on this part of the display. Okay, so if I hit enter now, did it create test2? Same thing, we did it in two ways, right? We created the folder using two ways. What are those two ways? Can you tell me, folks, now? We created folder using two ways. First one was GUI, graphical user interface, using the graphics display of the system, right? Second one is called CLI, command line interface, right? Using the commands, giving the commands. Okay. So in the notes, when I'm going to share the notes, I'm going to give you some, share some commands with you. Okay. Try them out. Okay. They will explain what this command is about. Okay. ठीक है. Cool. ठीक है, folks. Is this understood? Sheikh Altamash, please install bash. You will be able to use these commands. Okay. Or otherwise ask chat GPT. Okay. To give you commands related to, your Windows terminal. Okay. Okay. Yes, Anup, because these commands are unique Linux based commands. Okay. So I told you to install bash terminal. Okay. And bash terminal. Okay. So I'll also show you, one sec. Quickly, I'll show you. I don't want to, uh, you know, let us say bash terminal for Windows. You can go here and you will be, or let us say download. Okay. So you can come here and you can install git bash. Okay. It is called git bash. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Install it and you will start using it. Okay. Okay. So now coming to the slides again. Now we'll understand why did I show you this CLI, right? Because we could do the things using graphical user interface, the traditional way which you are using. But when you are setting up the server, you will need CLI. Okay. We'll see this, what I mean by this, and you will need your command line skills for cloud, and it's less resource extensive. Why am I saying this? So tell me one thing, when I created the folder using this, it used a little bit more resources. It used graphics as well, right? Yes. And here when I gave the command, it's common sense. It's less resource extensive. It's just a command which gets executed and you created a folder. Yes. So let me delete all these folders. Okay. So these are the uses of command line. Okay. Importance of command line. Okay. So now again, what we are going to discuss here is something called CJS versus ESM. Okay. How to rename a folder. I'll share in the notes. Okay. All the commands, most used commands. Okay. Yes, you can delete folder everything from commands. Okay. Yes, git bash is same. Okay. The full name of bash is git bash. Okay. Cool. So again, very good concept, which is something called ESM versus CJS. How many of you know the full form of ESM? No, you don't know? It is called ECMA script module. It was developed in 2015. Okay. So what do you how do you import modules in React? Can you tell me? You do something like import your function name, right, from, and you give here as path, right or wrong? This syntax was introduced in 2015. Okay. Is this understandable, folks? You have used it, right? 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay. So similarly, how can we export using ESM? We say something like export default and your function name, right? Yes, 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes. Okay, but this was introduced in 2015, right? So before this, was there any import export? No, right? Before 2015, there was no import export, right? But the concept was there. We were able to do the import export. Okay. You are very wrong here. This is just the syntactical part. It has some advantage, but that doesn't mean the same functionality didn't exist. It exists. It's called something known as CJS, Common JS. Okay. The difference is you used here import function name from path, right? It is something you declare the variable, right? Where let const, right? You say something like, let us use const function name equal into, and you give your require is a syntax. Okay, it's a syntax, and inside you give the path. It does the same thing. This and this is the same thing. Is this understandable, folks, to you? Yes. And in this case, how do we do export? We say something like module dot exports equal into function name. Is that understandable to you, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat. What's the difference between ESM and CJS? Yes. Okay. So again, coming here, CJS is a short form for common JS. Here is it how it looks. You can see again import React from React. If we had to do some same thing, we would say const React equal into require React. Is that understandable, folks? Again, let me show you. See this part. Okay. So if I say import React from React, same thing can be done in CJS using const React equal into require. Okay, invoke the function and say React. That's it. Understood? Yes, you can use let as well. Okay. But why don't I use let here? Can you tell me? Because this will never change, right? Whatever we import, we don't change it. I won't say if I use let react, then I can change. I can say react equivalent to 6, right? That shouldn't happen. That's why I'm using const, so that it's not changeable. It's immutable. Is that understandable, folks? Okay, cool. So moving forward, okay, so we are going to see now, before coming to the node modules, I'm going to share something with you. So to install Node.js V8 engine in your local PC, type Node.js in your browser. Okay, say Node.js, that's it, hit enter. The first website which you will see, nodejs.org, click on that and you can download Node.js from here. Is that understandable, folks? Yes, and restart your PC. Node.js will be in your PC. Okay, installed. What will happen when I download this Node.js and install? Can you tell me? I told you, we have discussed it. What will happen if I install this Node.js in our PC? It will install V8 engine, right? Plus some other stuff, right? Yes? 1 or 0 in the chat? Did we discuss this, folks? Quickly. Yes. Version, use LTS. LTS is a stable version. Okay. You can use LTS version. Whatever you want, you can use it. Okay. Try to use above 16 or 18, I'll say. Or 18. Use above 18. Okay. Greater than 18. Oh, okay. Greater or equivalent to 18. Okay. LTS version of 18, I'll say. Okay. You can use 20 as well. Okay. That's not an issue. Okay. So I'll clear the screen here. So install it. I have already installed it. And once you install it, okay, how can you check that your node is installed? So you can, if I type in the terminal just node, done, it will open the node. So see now, okay, if I do here console.log 2 plus 3, okay, if I hit enter, can you see something, a pattern? Where have you seen this thing? Browser, right? Are you now able to understand what Node.js is? It's a runtime so that JavaScript will run in our PC. Yes or no? Understood, folks? Yes? Okay. So I'll do Control C. It will take me out, right? Twice. And if you want to check the version, you can do node hyphen hyphen version as well. Okay. If I hit enter, I'm using version 20.11. Okay. Okay. So now coming here, back to here. So if you go to the documents, you will see here these things, right? Cluster, console, DNS. What are all these things? Can you tell me? Have you ever seen this console? Have you used console? Console.log. Let us search for that. Okay. So what is it? Prints with new line. Multiple arguments can be passed with the first user primary message and all the additional data as substitution values similar to print 3. Can you see this, folks? Yes. What is it? You have been using console.log. What is it? It's a module. Okay. It's a module. Let us understand now. Okay. So let me just come here. Okay. Let me go to cd cap 10. And let me create a folder mkdir, make directory day 1. Okay. And let me go inside day 1. I can check what folders are here. I can say ls list. So I created a folder right now. You can check here as well. If I click, day 1 is here, right? But I used command line, right? So I can go into this folder. I can say day 1, right? And I can open the VS Code in it. Yes. Is my VS Code visible, folks? Okay, cool. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to create something called lecture.txt. You will often see this. I create this file so that, I can make you understand stuff. Okay, so we saw that Node.js is made up of what? Can you tell me? Node.js is made up of what? V8 engine. Yes. And I told you plus some other stuff, right? You remember that piling up of files from the slide? Yes, how many of you remember that visualization of piling up of things, files, right? Okay. So that is called something called node modules. Okay. You can remember this as node के modules. Okay. अब node के modules में से हमें देखना है what are modules, right? अब जब हमें modules पता चल जाएगा what are modules, we'll understand node modules क्या है, right or wrong? If we understand what modules are, we'll understand node के modules क्या है, yes or no? Yes, okay. See here. So first of all, if you want to create a file, you can call it, let's just say sum.js. Okay, hit enter. I can say something like this: const. Let us create a function which calculates the sum of two digits. Okay, const sum a comma b return a plus b. Okay, now uh, now if I say something like this, sum 1 comma 2, right? But now the question is, how can I run this file, right? How can I run this file, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat in my terminal? Yes or no, folks? The question is that, right? To run your file, okay, we'll understand this. Running JavaScript or Node.js files, okay? So the command is you will have to give node and plus the file name, okay? That's all. You have to type node and plus the file name, okay? That's all. So in our case, what is node? I type node. What is the file name? Sum.js, right? I'll say sum.js. Is this understandable, folks? This part, how can you run a file? Yes. So if I hit enter now, I didn't got anything. Why didn't I got anything? Attention to detail. No console, right? We have not printed it. Correct. So I can say something like this: let sum equal into, or let us say sum1 equal into, and I can do something like this: console.log sum1. Yes, and if I print again the same thing, is it printing 3, folks? Yes. 1 or 0 in the chat, yes? Okay, again. Yes. And if I am sending 7 here, is it printing? See, 8. Yes. Is this clear? How you can run the JavaScript files, Node.js files in your local PC? Yes. Okay. Now let us see something. Okay. So if I am saying, if we have the sum function here, okay, only the sum function, and I'm going to use CJS here. Okay, by default Node.js supports CJS. Okay, again, note here, by default Node.js supports CJS, not ESM. Okay, ठीक है? Is this understood, folks? ये समझ में आ रहा है? Okay, let us see how we can export this. So if I want to export this, I can say something like module dot exports equivalent to sum, right? I can export this function, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat? Yes, okay. Let us create a new file called client, not client. Let us say, can you give me a file name? Just like that. Okay, let us say index.js. Okay. Okay. So now to import it, I'll say const. What was the function name? Can you tell me, folks? Sum, right? Equivalent to, I'll say require. Okay. I'll invoke it inside. I'll say this is the sum, right? 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes. Now I can do something like this. Let result equivalent to sum 1 plus 2, and I can say console.log res. Yes. This much you can understand, right? This is not an issue. 1 or 0 in the chat. Now, which file should I run? Index or sum? Index, right? So I'll say node index.js, right? And what will it print? 3, right? So am I getting 3? Yes. Okay. Now, from this example, we understood one thing concept which is called modules. Okay. What is modules? Anything which you export in JavaScript is called a module. So in our case, we created a module called sum module, right or wrong? This is a sum module. Understood, folks? Anything which you export in JavaScript is called a module. Is that understandable to you? Very simple. Yes. So what did we, which module did we create? Sum module, right or wrong? Yes. Yes or no? Did we create it? Created, yes. Okay. So similarly, if you remember Randall, how many of you remember that? Randall, who created Node.js, has already written, created modules, or I can say uh, written methods or functions, you can say, for you. Okay. Those we call node modules. Is that understandable what node modules are, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat. We'll see what those functions and methods are, but did you understood what do I mean by node modules? Yes. Again, did we create a sum module here, folks? Only those who said 0, can you type? Yes, modules provided by Node.js are called node modules. Yes. So Randall, who created Node.js and other developers as well, has already written some functions like this sum.js, right? Which they have exported, right? They have created these functions for you, those we call node modules. Okay. Is that understandable, folks? Yes. Okay. So again, one more concept. Modules can be of 3 types. One is called inbuilt modules. Okay. They come with Node.js called as node modules. Okay. Is that understandable? We'll check these node modules. Okay. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. These are inbuilt. When you install this Node.js now here, when you install it, they get installed in your PC itself. Is that understandable? We'll check them out, how they work, but they get installed. You remember those extra files which you say, which I said, extra stuff with V8 engine? Here, extra stuff. These are node modules. Okay. The modules which come with Node.js. Okay. Understandable, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat? Okay. Cool. So similarly, there is something called custom modules. Did we create a custom module here? Can you give an example of custom module which we created just now, fresh? Some, yes. Some module. Yes or no? Yes. How many of you understood this fact? Custom modules. Any function which you export is called a module. And the third one is called external modules. How many of you have used this command npm install anything? Okay. So developers have written other modules for you, but you have to install them. Yes. Is that understood, folks? 3 types of modules. This external modules you can use with npm. Okay, this we are going to use in the upcoming sessions. But are these two clear? Okay, so now we checked out custom modules. Let us see node modules now. Okay, inbuilt modules. Okay, ठीक है. Check करें one by one. Yes. Okay. Cool. So now let me just see some of the modules. Okay, so let us go here and let us go to the documentation. These are all the modules already written for you. For example, can you give an example of inbuilt module? It's in front of you. Console.log, right, folks? Someone has already written console.log ka logic for you. You just use this method. Are you able to understand that now? Yes, for example, type of nice. Yes, push pop is inbuilt, right? So similarly for Node.js, we have something called FS here. Okay, if I just scroll down, I can come here to file system. Yes, so what is this file system? Okay, so we are going to check one of the node module today, okay, which is called FS, called as file system. So what does file system help us to do? Can you tell me? It helps us to read, write, append, delete, rename, copy, move, create, everything. Okay, related to files. We can read files, any type of file. We can append file, we can delete file, we can rename file, we can write a file as well. Is that understandable to you folks? Yes. Okay, let us see this. Okay, so I'm coming to this index.js. So these inbuilt modules are there. You don't need to install them. Okay, you can just directly use them. So I can say const fs file system equivalent to require fs. Did I install this folks? ये मॉड्यूल मैंने कहीं से इंस्टॉल किया? npm package कहीं से मैंने खुद से लिखा? Is this a custom module somewhere? Can you see? No, this is an inbuilt module. This is a node module. This comes with node itself. It's inbuilt. Okay, is that understandable to you folks? Yes. Okay, so now let us try to read this lecture.txt ko read kare. Shall we read this using fs? Okay, so to read a file you say fs dot read file. Okay, so how many of you are aware about synchronous operation and asynchronous operation? Yes. I'm not going to elaborate it more. Okay, so to use here a synchronous way, you just have to use this. Okay, first parameter which it takes. Okay, let us read documentation so that you also understand. Okay, so I'll come to documentation. I'll search here fs. Okay, dot read file. Okay, I'll come here. Okay, I just searched it. Can you see? मुझे ढूंढना नहीं पड़ा. I didn't have to go. I just searched it. Yes, 1 or 0 in the chat. This is how you read the documentation. You don't go through it. You just search what you need, right? आपको बस search करना है. You will get it. Okay. So I searched it and I got fs.read file, right? Oh no, sorry. Uh, 1 sec. Did I lost it? Okay. No, it's here. Okay. So first things first, you can see here, read file is a synchronous operation. First, let me come to the file system again. Let me search for read file sync. Okay. Okay. So first it takes is, why is this happening? Okay, so the first parameter it takes is path, right? Path to the file. Can you see file name or file descriptor, path, right? And then there are some options and you will get a callback as well. Can you see that? To search, you type Control F. Okay. So that's how you read the documentation. The first parameter is path. You can learn about path here. Options. What are options? Encoding, flag, right? And what do you get in the callback? Either you get the error, either you get the data. And you also have an example here, right? So read file, this is the path and the callback function. Is that understandable, folks, to you? Yes? 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay, let us see how we can use it. Okay. So first one is path. So I can give the path as lecture.txt, right? Is this the path, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat quickly. Yes. Okay. Second one is options. Okay. So I want to also share some knowledge here as well. Okay. So how many of you are aware about ASCII and UTF-8? किसी को दोनों में से कुछ पता है? Okay, I'll give you a brief hint here. Okay, ठीक है. थोड़ा सा मैं hint दे देता हूँ, but please, learn it. Okay, so if you are using English language and some symbols, okay, computer understands it in the form of ASCII. Okay, ASCII में इसको ये समझ आ जाता है. Okay, UTF-8 is for other language as well. For example, Chinese हो गया, Hindi हो गया. Okay, that is how computer is able to understand Hindi. Okay, it converts that into a buffer. Okay, please go into a little bit deeper of this, because we have time implications here. So that's why I just gave you a hint only. Okay, so if your text includes characters from multiple language, right, if you're dealing with international language, then UTF-8 is a preferred choice. Okay, it ensures compatibility with a broader range of characters. Okay, and ASCII is used for English content only. Okay, if your text is limited to English language and some basic symbols, na, then using ASCII might be sufficient, and it might be very simpler as well. Okay, but if you have to keep in mind that nowadays applications use modern language as well, sorry, other language as well, right? Hindi, English as well. So try to encode it using UTF itself. Okay, so let us see now. So if I come to index, now I am going to give here option as either C. Can you see ASCII? I can give UTF-8 as well. Can you see this, folks? This is your homework. Okay, please go in depth of this. Okay, so if I use UTF-8 here, then there is a callback function. First option was the error, second option was the data, right? So I can say if there is any kind of error, right, console.log error, else console.log data. Okay, that's it. Now if I do node index.js, is it printing my lecture.txt? Can you see this? Is this my lecture.txt, folks? Yes, 1 or 0 in the chat. Someone said 0, folks. See this. Okay, यहाँ से Node.js V8 engine से start होता है. Here it is. Yes, yeah, first parameter is always error. Okay, that's why you have to read the documentation. Okay, the callback gives you. Okay, similarly you can do it in the, this is a synchronous way. Okay, so you have to see this. If I say here console.log hi, okay, this will block this, right? Hi will what will print first, data or hi? Okay, let us use sum.js. Okay, sum.js. Okay, ठीक है. What will print first, hi or data? Okay, let us see. Okay, so if I index.js, so I got first hi, then I got the data. What is it? This is asynchronous, right? Right, folks? That's why we are getting, that's what I was checking. Okay, when you get a callback function, it means it's an asynchronous function, folks. Have you ever used asynchronous way of coding? Do you know what is a callback function? Please brush up your concepts a little bit. Okay, so if it was a synchronous function, I won't get a callback function. It would have been something like let data equal into fs.read file sync. Okay, and first parameter is the what do you call it, the path, and second one is UTF-8. Done, that's it. You can console.log the data now. Now what will print first, data or hi? What will print first, data or hi? Data, right? See now, first thing what it printed was data. then it printed the high, right? It's a synchronous operation, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat. Are you able to understand it? Okay, that's not all. Okay, so if I remove this UTF-8, it by default takes it, right? I think so. So let me just show you. Okay, it shouldn't take it by default so that you understand it. Okay, so if I'm not giving UTF-8, can you see this? What is this? Anyone having any idea? This is called buffer data. Okay, buffer data, buffer data, understandable by the data in binary format. Okay, to make this binary format into human readable language, we can use two formats. One is ASCII and one is UTF. If it's only English language and some symbols, you can use ASCII. If it's Hindi, Chinese, whatever you want, Arabic, right, then use UTF-8. Have you understood it now, folks? Is this understandable? So if I give now here, I can give ASCII as well, okay, because it's English language, right? This is English language, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes. So I can do here ASCII as well. I can say, is this now understandable, human readable? Okay, understood, folks. What is this ASCII and UTF-8? Okay, cool. So I'll clear the screen. I'll show you some other things as well. Okay, so there is one module called OS. Okay, so if I come here, here it is OS. Okay, so there is something called OS dot CPUs. Okay, so what does this CPU give us? See this. Okay, this is how you read the documentation. Please be with me. Okay, so if you use OS.CPUs, it returns array yaar. It returns an array of objects containing information about each logical CPU core in my PC. The array will be empty if no CPU information is available. Okay. Similarly, we have something called os.arch, returns the operating system architecture for which the Node.js binary was compiled. Possible use ARM, ARM64, whatever it is. Okay. So let us see. Okay. Let us use os.cpus. So to use it, I will have to import it. 1 or 0 in the chat. Folks, 1 or 0 in the chat. Do I need to install it or is it inbuilt? It's inbuilt, right? So I can say something like this. I can say const OS equivalent to require OS, right? And I can say here console dot log OS dot CPUs, right? Invoke the function. Let me just comment out this data. Now I'll say node index.js. See, it is giving all the data about my PC. Its Apple M1 Pro speed is this. So how many cores are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, what, however it is, right? Yes, can you see this, folks? How cool is this? Your JavaScript is able to do it, right? So total memory you can calculate as well. So if I can do here node index.js, you will see it's in, it's in. Can you tell me, is it bit, byte? What is it? It's in bits, right? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We can check that out in the documentation. I can say like os dot what was that? Total memory. Yes, total mem. You don't have to remember everything. Okay. So total mem, you can returns the total amount of system memory in bytes. It's not bits, it's in bytes. Okay. ठीक है? Understood, folks? Is this understandable to you? 1 or 0 in the chat? Okay. So similarly, I can do here. So I can write a file as well. Okay, I can write in a file as well. So let me create a dummy file here. I can say dummy.txt. Okay. So to write in a file, you can say something like this. Writing file also has two ways. One is synchronous, one is asynchronous. Okay. So if you want to use synchronous, you can do asynchronous fs.write file. Right. First parameter, what it takes is path again. So it is dummy.txt, right? Second one is directly the text. So I'm saying this is a test data. Okay, that's it. And the third parameter which you will get here is error only. If there is error, you will get it. Okay, so you can say something like this. You can say if error, or otherwise say console.log file created. Okay, if there is error, console the error. So if I now come here, clear the screen and type node index.js, it's saying file created. If I come here, is the text here, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat quickly? Yes. Okay. So now similarly, you will see that. Okay. So if I am using sync as well, I can use sync as well. Then I won't get a callback function. Okay. So I can use it in this way only. fs.read file sync. Now I can say hello from index.js. Okay. I can clear the terminal. I can say node index.js. Okay. Now what will be in the dummy.txt? Okay, type one who will say that there will be one more line edited. See this, it's only hello from index there. It override the previous data, right? It overwrited the previous data 1 or 0 in the chat, folks. Yes. Okay. So similarly, you can use something if you don't want to, overwrite the previous data, not overwrite the previous data. You can use, oh wow, Dharmender is already giving the answer, append file. Okay, append file sync or append file. Okay, understandable, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat. Yes. Will you be able to use append file now? I'll show you. Okay, so if you come here, you can say something like fs.append file. Okay, it's not in the OS module, it will be here in the file system. Yes. Okay, again, I have to search fs.append file. Here it is how you can use it. Okay, so first it takes path. Second one is the data. Option is again encoding, flag, flush, right? Use all these things. Okay, these options and all. Try to use it. Try to experiment. You won't lose anything, right? You will just gain more and more information. That's all. Okay, so this is how you read the documentation as well. Okay, okay, folks. Is that understood? Is this understood, folks? Quickly say 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay. So that was all about today's session. Okay. So I hope you have understood. So let me stop the recording here.